Hey everyone, welcome back to How to Is. In this video I'm building a forgotten temple ruin, overrun by nature, long sunken into a swamp. The centerpiece of the diorama is the ancient alligator from Rescale Miniatures, a beast that guards the decaying remnants of this ancient world. I start off by cutting down some thick XPS foam using my hot wire tool. These chunks will form the base of the scene. Next I use some wood filler around the edges of the inside of the frame and start gluing the foam sheets in, making sure there are no gaps at the edges. I glue some foam blocks and sheets together to create the lower part of the temple, and press them into the base while the Mod Podge and plaster layer I applied off camera is still wet. Using pre-cut bricks, I glue them around the base of the temple to form the edges. This gives it an aged and hand-built look. I always like using individual bricks, but they take a lot of time to make and glue on one by one, and it's worth it. I add foam sheets to the top part of the temple to create a layering of bricks again, which I will draw on later. I'm also adding a small entrance at the front of the structure. Some larger bricks are added on the top to start building the next tier of the temple. In front of the temple I built smaller columns from individual bricks to resemble pillars coming up from the water. I glue on some foam board sheets to serve as the upper walls, then start layering bricks across the bottom edges of these walls. I add 4 angled collar pillars cut precisely to create a slightly sloped pyramid-like silhouette. Now to detail the walls, I take a thin sheet of XPS foam and hit it with a rock for texture. and tear it into random pieces to simulate stone slabs. These are glued to the foam board sheets. I am now adding some plaster rocks from Woodland Scenics molds, gluing and blending them in with a plaster and Mod Podge mix to tie everything together and make sure it stays in place. Once the plaster is dry, the entire diorama gets a base coat of black paint mixed with Mod Podge. This seals the foam and gives us a strong underlayer for paint. Now, destruction. I cut a big chunk of the temple and break it in half. I am placing the alligator to see if he fits right. I then rough up the rest with tweezers to create this long, decayed, broken look. I mix some tin down glue, black paint, plaster and fine sand for a thick muddy rubble texture. I then drop in some foam bricks to create a rubber look sinking into the mud of the water. I also place in some small driftwood pieces to act as swamp trees. For the roots of the trees, I combine dried natural woods and ceiling foam cord or backer rod with thin wire inside. It's annoying to get the wire into it, but the results are worth it, creating a mangrove type root look. It's now time to airbrush the diorama. The ruins get a base coat of cold stone grey. I give the ground a camouflage green coat and mist the bottom of the ruins with the same green to create a mossy fade. The alligator gets a goblin green coat on top and a sandy brown underneath. The trees are painted dark brown and dry brushed with a lighter tone to bring out the texture. Next is foliage time. I start with long tufts of light brown grass from woodland scenics. These will be sticking out of the water. Then I dust some green flocking across the ruins and the tree roots. Finally, I place clumps of fake sheep moss to simulate ivy and vines. Here you can see me painting some details of the ancient alligator. If you're enjoying the process, don't forget to like, comment and subscribe to support the channel. And here's a short story to go along with the scene. Centuries ago, this temple was devoted to a forgotten nature god. Its priests vanished with time, and the jungle reclaimed their sacred grounds. Now only the ancient alligator remains, a silent sentinel submerged in green shadows, waiting for intruders who dare to disturb this ancient place. I glue the alligator to the base using some industrial grade super glue. Time for some swamp water. I tint 2 part resin with a bit of dark green paint and pour it into the scene. Always wear gloves, work in a ventilated area and follow the safety instructions when handling resin. After curing, the water is nice and clear with a green tint. To stimulate some small waves, I brushed some Mod Podge onto the surface, but since I only had matte, I later coated it with a glossy varnish to give it the water look. I painted paper in green and yellow shades. Then used a perforator to punch out circles. With scissors that were way too big, I trimmed some in lily pad shapes. I definitely recommend using smaller scissors. The lily pads are glued in clumps across the water, with the more detailed ones placed around the edges. Finally, I add some flocking and moss to the alligator to blend it with the scene, making it look like it's been lurking there for years. And now, onto the final result.